Welcome to the Shorewood Park Sanitary District. The date is February 3rd, 2026. We'll start off with roll call. I'm Rich Stork and I'm the chairperson.
I'm Dean Fendel, treasurer.
Matt Anderson, vice chair.
Al Powers, board member.
Sue Williams, board member. Tina Heidelberger, clerk.
Okay, good. I guess the first order of business is the approval of the meeting minutes from Tuesday, January 6th, 2026. Is there any corrections or any changes to the minutes? If there's no changes, I'll look for a motion to approve the minutes from last month.
I motion to approve the minutes. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, so we're on wastewater update. Terry's not here today, and he experienced a tragic loss over the last month. He lost his son, so I would respectively ask everybody if we could just take a moment and then bow our heads and say a few words for Terry. And I'd like to do that right now. Thank you, I appreciate that. Terry did send me the information for the flows, and I'll pull that out right now. Here we go, Terry Peterson. First of all, I just want to let everybody know that once I did find out about the tragic news, the board got together and via email, text, and we did approve to send some flowers over to the funeral chapel last Thursday. And there was a really nice arrangement that was sent over by Tina, and we appreciate that. So that will show up on the bills this month for approval. But we did go through an approval process very quick via email, text. We thought that would be appropriate.
Yes.
So the low was on 128, and that flow was 6,940. So 6,940 gallons for that day. 130 was the high. So 2 days later, and this was kind of an anomaly, and Terry was a little concerned about it, but it was 17,850, which is way out of whack compared to what's been going on, especially in the wintertime. It's typically really low. So he was concerned about it. He thought maybe there was a float stuck, so he did go over and do some investigation at the main pump, and he did that yesterday. Everything looked good. He made some adjustment, so we did make some adjustment on that high. We're going to have to watch that. If there's another problem, both are, we're second guessing that high number at this point. So the total flow with those numbers this month was 281,570 for the month. The average was just over 9,000 per day. It was 9,082 gallons per day. Again, at the end of the text, thank you everyone again for the flowers. We had over 50 plants and arrangements, which were all very beautiful. We sent a heart emoji, so Terry did appreciate that. Chairman update. During the month of January, we did meet to finalize the letter that we sent out to the residents that we identified the disparities of not paying the same amount of monies. We did get some responses for that, some disputes. I guess there were some phone calls. I think we'll have to make a decision on how we want to address those. There were a couple of emails back and forth. There was a resident over on Rush Lake Way also that is looking to drill some wells, and they're looking for some help to identify the sewer lines for their property. And I did give them some information, and I sent out that email. It's our responsibility to kind of locate where the sewer line is coming into our infrastructure on Rush Lake Way. Of course, there are certain setbacks that they got to abide by for where the well can go. So apparently they're going to approach that in the spring. They appreciated the information, and they'll contact us in the spring, and we'll try to get Terry out there to help them locate that so they can, come up with a good location for that well that they want to drill. Other than that, there was some information that I'll let Dean share with you. There is some talk about the expansion and meeting with some of our local representatives and senators. That meeting is a Zoom meeting with a couple of us, and that's tomorrow. And it's basically just to, give the existing bill that we have at the legislature another push, and hopefully they can go after some state funding. We are pretty much mentioning that this is probably the final push. If there is not any additional funding, we'll be looking at possibly ending the expansion possibilities. It's been going on for a while, so we'll see what happens at this particular point in time. There still is work to be done on the federal side and shoring up that grant, and we'll continue to work with those people, and I'll let Dean kind of update you on that information. Other than that, it's been a good quiet January month. Are there any questions on the chairman update? No questions. Okay, good. Financial updates. I will let Tina step into that.
All right. So as of today, our checking account balance was $134,206.64. Our investment account balance was $227,505.29. And our cash value account was at $33,400.22. As far as bills for this month, we have an East Central Energy bill of $219.63. LJJ, we have a bill for $1,700, which is our service for the month of February. We do have a League of Minnesota Cities membership dues that came, and that is for $2,497. I will pass those down. I did not, and I apologize, I did not put the invoice for the flowers for the Peterson family, but that was $151. So I'll add that to the meeting minutes, just so that everybody's aware of the cost.
Any questions on the bills? All right, with that, I'm hearing no feedback. I'll look for a motion to approve payment of all the bills for the month.
I'll make the motion to approve the bills.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, we will move into the old business, and we'll start with the expansion and a little bit more update from Dean on any other additional information.
We've had some progress on the federal grant. Ewan is our federal EPA specialist, and Chris Ziegler, our Minnesota MAP specialist, have been working on our required paperwork to access the funding, so they're getting further along with that. We have plans to have a meeting sometime this month, I believe. I don't know if that date has been set quite yet. On the state possibility of funding there, Becky Meyer has been working with our state senator Rourke and Representative Nelson on our bonding request for 2026. We have raised the request amount to $820,000 due to inflation, we hope we're having a meeting with at least Representative Nelson tomorrow, a Zoom meeting. See where we're at with their help. So.
That Zoom meeting is at 11:30 to noon. If somebody else wants to step in, they can reach out to me on the
What
website.
day is it?
Pardon me?
What day is that? I'm sorry.
It's actually tomorrow.
Okay.
Tomorrow morning, 11:30 to 12 is our scheduled time. If somebody else wants to jump in, I could forward that meeting, I'm sure. Just reach out via my email, Shorewood Store, gmail.com, and then I'll pass on that invite if you'd like to sit in. But, you know, don't wait till the last minute. Please have that request to meet at least by 10, because I'll be doing that at work, and I'll be juggling a lot of different things, so I'll do the best that I can. Other than that, we'll provide you guys with an update. The next bit of business, of the old business, is the permit renewal, MPCA. So I did pass that information on, the new permit, the draft, and the request to publicly notice and publicize that draft for the permit. That has moved forward. I'm not quite sure where that is publicly displayed. I would imagine on the MPCA website. But we do have that draft, and I don't know if we decided to post the draft of the permit yet, or we're going to wait for the full permit.
I was going to wait for the
Okay.
actual.
Again, there are some changes to the permit, but as far as flows go and the way we operate, that has not changed. They're pleased on how our operation works and how our treatment plant works, other than we do have to treat for a couple different things like I mentioned in the past, and that's phosphorus. And I think that's the main one that will produce some added cost, but we're not quite sure what that is yet. We've kind of budgeted for that. But I think what we're going to do is start the process and see kind of what it does cost us, and see if we can absorb those costs for the time being. So that's the status of that permit. That's all good news. We've been waiting for a real live operating permit since basically 2019. So that's all good news. That's been about a year's worth of work working with them also. So that will change our permit number, and we'll actually have a good working document for us to operate under. So I'm very pleased with that progress. The old business again is we're going to move on to the Rush Lake Way and some of the other residents. That's not the only portion of the sanitary district that we've found some disparity in. Certain properties that are not paying, the same amount of dues as everybody else. So we did send out a certified letter. I've only received one submission to dispute the ask of them to pay the same amount as everybody else. I passed on that dispute, and what I did respond to that gentleman is we'll review it, we'll respond in writing, and I ask anybody else that has a dispute to do the same, so we can keep a paper trail of any kind of disputes. What I do want to say is, this is not, we are neighbors, and we're going to work through this issue. We're just trying to stay consistent and make sure everybody is paying, their fair amount to operate our system. There's nobody here that's making any money. The monies that we collect are directly to operate our system. So if you do have a dispute of any kind, please submit it or email it. You can email it to me, or the best way again is on the website. And that website again is, help me with that please.
ShorewoodSanitation.org.
ShorewoodSanitation.org, and there you just get right on the website. That's where we house all the information for everybody. There's all kinds of different tabs in there to see the work that we've done, past minutes, so on and so forth. So just to recap, we did an audit, and we were working off the best of the available information that we had at the time, and that's how we proceeded and billed every resident that we thought we were supposed to bill within the district. As we started to audit the properties, we found some properties that were not paying the same amount of money, and that's how we came up with this letter to notify these residents. So again, we're here to work with you and come up with a plan to stay consistent with with everybody else throughout the district. So if you have any questions, again, please submit something, and then we'll respond to you and answer all your questions. Is there anybody else that want to add anything to that point?
Yeah, the best way to submit something to the board is to go to our contact page on our website and submit it there, because then it can be easily forwarded to all board members so that we can all quickly and efficiently assess the issue at hand.
One of the concerns that a resident had shared was that they wanted to know, their concern was about the plowing, and some of that's mentioned in this letter. And I did reiterate the fact that because the MPCA were going through the re-permitting process, we have to maintain the infrastructure of our sanitary district or the sewer system, and because the roads over Rush Lake Way are over that infrastructure, that's why we're responsible for maintaining it. And the question was raised of, are we going to then maintain the roads going forward? And I said that yes, that would be in addition, like that is part of what we would have to do going forward, is when we every spring go, I explained when we go in the spring and we inspect the roads and identify areas that need to be repaired, that would be an area that would be included in that assessment every year also. So
That's exactly true. So 3 years ago, there was a change and a rule change. And this came from the township. The township basically covered the cost of plowing Shorewood Park and Rush Lake. These are private roads. 3 years ago, they came to us with the Minnesota state statute, and they are enforcing that Minnesota state statute. If you'd like that number, you can look it up, but that basically states that townships are not responsible and need to charge for the maintenance of private roads. Okay, so at that point, we have infrastructure underneath all of these roads. We went through the process of taking bids to find out what and who could plow our roads. There are royalties that are provided from Midco to the township, not to Shorewood Sanitary District. They're to the township. There was a verbal deal. We can find no documentation about this Midco royalties and how that deal was made, but the township was taking those monies as the amount of money to pay to plow for our roads. No maintenance, just the plowing purposes. Well, once they provided that letter to us and said that was going to stop, we did sit down, a few of us, with the township, and we did come up with a contract to work with the township to continue to plow our roads. And they promised us that they would take the portion of the royalties, which is on a sliding scale on a year-to-year basis, depending on how many residents within the township are utilizing Midco, that determines the amount of royalties that come to the township. So the township did agree to apply those royalties as they plow our roads. They plow, depending on how much snow it is, and they plow our roads depending on the piece of equipment, how many times they plow, and how many hours, or any chemicals, what they put down on our roads. So we did come up with a contract, and we have a signed contract. Now we're going into the second 2-year contract with the township to continue to plow our roads. If there's no royalty money left over, that money comes from our budget. All right, so we do budget a certain amount of money to cover for the plowing of the roads, because you never know how much snow you're going to get and when you're going to run out of that money. The last 2 years, we have not had to produce any money for the township because the royalties have covered them. So that's the status of the road plowing. So we were in a 2-year contract with the township to plow our roads, and that contract has several stipulations in how we manage plowing the road and that partnership with the township. What I do have to say, and what I've heard several times, is the maintenance and the snow plowing of our road has increased ever since we turned into this contract. Our plowing has been I think they've done an excellent job. So we'll continue to work with the township to plow our roads in the wintertime. The maintenance, every spring, right around March, April, we start talking about road maintenance. The $37 that we have set aside per resident for road maintenance is to repair our roads. So we reach out to the community and ask who wants to go out and inventory the roads to see where roads need to be repaired. The last couple of years it's been Al and myself, but we've asked over and over and over again. We'll go out, we'll do a survey, we'll find the roads that need, the worst potholes and the roads that need to be repaired. We easily spend $30,000 to $35,000 every year, and that does not cover everything that needs to be repaired. So if you want to be part of that, and that means anybody in Rush Way, anybody throughout the rest of the district, we encourage you to pay attention and to help us to determine what roads are going to be needed to be repaired. If there's a bad spot in front of your house or something that we're not aware of, please put a submission into the website. It's the best way to get a hold of us. I monitor that every day, every other day. I know Matt sees that. And I do that at work. So if I don't respond right away, please be patient. I am juggling a lot of things. So somebody will get back to you. Again, this is our district. It's everybody's district. It's not any one person up here that's running the show. If you have an issue or you want to help, we beg you to come give us a hand because we're always looking for help. So that kind of explains the road work and the plowing and how we've split it up. If you want to see our budgets, we do a budget meeting. We start talking about the budgets in October, September. Our budget is posted on the website and it's always on the pump too. And we always ask people to come to that meeting also and help us set up the budget. So I just want to make sure that you guys understand that there's no decisions here made in a vacuum. We're trying to be as transparent as we can be, and we're always open for help and suggestions on how to make some decisions. I guess that's all I really have to say. Is there anybody else want to add to that?
I think that it would probably be good just to go through the letter and just address it, each point that they had a concern with, because I think these are probably common.
Well, I think at this point, I'm not quite sure how to respond to some of them. Okay, so I think what I got to do is I really have to look at it, and to be quite frankly honest with everybody, I'm looking for some advice on how to answer it because I want to make sure that I answer it correctly and legally correct. So we can share that letter, but I think we only have one person that has really complained and pretty much shot down the whole idea of paying any kind of fees. And one of the biggest disputes is he says he's not hooked up to the sewer system. And again, we did some investigation when we scoped that line and we're showing evidence of him being hooked up. So there would only mean that he would have some sort of a septic system, and we can get that information from the county. So I think...
so it's really only one person that's...
So far, I've only heard from one person, and that's the only complaint we have in writing.
I've had another person that's reached out to when I answered the questions that they had. But
Could you share their questions?
just a concern over why and what was going to happen, why the changes were happening. And again, I encouraged them to come to a meeting, told them, when and where it is, and let them know about the website. They were unaware of the website, so I shared that information with them and that they could go back and watch videos. Same thing with the person that sent this letter in. I encouraged them. He asked if he could participate in a live. The only way we could do that would be Zoom.
Yeah, that's just not able to be done at this point.
Yeah.
To participate live.
I think... go ahead, sorry.
No, but I just, again, just reiterated the fact that there was questions about the Midco royalties. I explained again that they do not come directly to Shorewood. They come to the township. And then the township, that was something that we negotiated with the township when we established that plowing contract. So that was part of it. One of the other questions was about maintaining the roads, and I explained that yes, we would be responsible for maintaining the road because we're responsible for the infrastructure under that road. And there's questions about, when I talked to this person today, just about stating that he has a mound system, and I explained that if they can provide us documentation that they indeed have a mound system and that's what's being used, then they would not be charged a sewer fee, obviously, but they would still be responsible for a road fee. And there was concerns about multiple road fees. And I said, we did that, we simply assessed it based off of parcel ID. So we went with Chisago County, went on their website, and identified all of the parcel IDs in Shorewood. And that's how we identified which homes or which residents would be assessed a fee. So if you had 1 or 2 or 3 parcel IDs, you were then assessed accordingly. And that there are residents that have for a long time been paying multiple road fees. Even if they have just one driveway, they're paying multiple road fees or sewer fees if they have multiple sewer hookups. So we just explained that we're trying to be as consistent as possible across the board, and that's why this happened. So
Yeah, and we discussed this at the last meeting.
yeah.
And we voted to move forward with
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
procedures.
So I know there's concerns that have happened behind the scenes, but the discussion was at our last meeting. There was a meeting, a working meeting that we had, which was not videotaped and does not have to be, that we talked about where we went through and we're just identifying the different parcel IDs, but that's not part of a regular board meeting.
There weren't any decisions made at that meeting.
No, there was not. It was voted on at our meeting.
No. Are there any other comments? Anybody out in the, any questions? Oh, okay. All right, again, I encourage people to reach out and submit to us, and we will respond in writing. So we do have proper documentation of any particular issue. At this point, we're going to continue to move forward and ask everybody to pay the same. Again, if you are not hooked up to our sewer system, we're gonna ask for proof of that. But based on the information that we have and the steps that we have taken to identify people down Rush Way to see who is hooked up, we're showing 11 homes, 11 homes hooked up. And out of the 11 homes, I think only 6 of them are paying for sewer. So we just want to get everybody on the same plane and pay for the services that we do provide.
So potentially 5 are not paying and have mound systems?
Well, we don't know that. All we know is 5 of the homes on the lake, what we are that we think are hooked up and kind of proven by video scoping the lines, are not paying for sewer. Now, again, we took the information from the last operator and clerical people, and we took their billing information and we just started to bill off of that information. So we assumed that they were being billed, but when we started this audit, as the new permit came up, we've identified some people that were not paying the same amount of money for the services provided. Why? We don't know, right? Again, there was a lot of things we found that did not have any documentation, or a lot of things that we had to clean up. Again, we've worked off the best available information that we've had, and then if we could find the documentations, and we started to move forward and try not to look backwards too far. Okay?
So if they're found to be hooked up to the system and using the system, you're only going to charge them moving forward, or you're going to charge them going backwards as well?
All we can do is charge them moving forward, right? We don't know if they paid a SAC charge, which is a state statute, if you hook up to a sewer system. We don't know if they ever paid before and they just decided to stop paying. All we know is we have identified some parcels that are not paying for sewer. Now, if they can prove to us that there's a mound system on their lot, and that might be true, and they're not hooked up to our system, we're going to ask for that proof. And if they want to dispute it more, there's some other steps that we can do to prove it further. We're targeting Rush Way because that that's where the biggest disparity is down that road. And that was one of the last expansions ever done to the Shorewood Park. So I'm not quite sure how this all happened or what happened, and maybe they hooked up in different sequences, not 100% sure. I mean, I think there's only one other lot that had a structure throughout the park that was never hooked up. And that cabin was just knocked down recently, and they are gonna hook up in the future here, so. If there's a structure, typically the county would be all over it, and they would be asking to say what kind of sewer system's there, just like you mentioned about an acre there, right? There are failing compliant septic systems that go north of the Shorewood Park Sanitary District. That's why they want to expand, because they have failing systems. And they know sooner or later, you know, they're going to have to comply somehow, and the easiest way is to, because they don't have room to put sewer on their little lots. That makes the most sense, is to try to expand to us.
Yes, and so just two comments from me. One, if I was that person that was found that wasn't paying and all of a sudden started paying, I think I'd be pretty happy because you've been not paying.
Well, that's what I said too. They should be thankful that they didn't have to do that for so long, and, you know.
Yeah, and I get that, and agreed. But I just want them to understand that we think it's fair that they pay for the service that we're providing.
Right.
Right?
So one is that those people should be thankful. The second way is we're limited on the number of taps that we get into the system right now. And so if they are found to not pay and not want to pay, then maybe we shut them off and open those taps for other people that would like to pay and tap into that system.
Well, I don't think it's not like water. I don't think we can, because we're regulated by the MPCA, we cannot shut down anybody's sewer system. We can't just do that, you know. I don't think there's a process or a means to cut them off from being hooked up to our system.
You plug it.
Yeah, so I
Send
don't,
the line.
it's just like anything else. If they're hooked up and there's a service there, the MPCA has a lot of authority, right? And there's a lot of rules, and it's up to each individual or each lot to make sure that their sewage is being treated, right? There's only two ways to do that: put it to a central system, or have their own working system and comply with the county of the working system. So we can reach out to the county to see who does have a working mound system, and if it's in compliance, they should have that record, okay? So we do have other means to find out who does and who doesn't have it. So, but we do ask, if you are hooked up and you're not paying, just, you know, let's have a discussion and we'll figure it out. All right.
Would you want to explain a little bit about the I&I and that we're planning on capping any services on Rush Lake Way that are not being used?
Yeah, so that's not only Rush Lake Way. Part of our new permit, one of the things that was concern of the MPCA is they did write in, a contingency for our permit. They realize from past historical data, and you can see it, every time it rains, our flowage, our amount of gallons that we push towards our treatment plant increases quite a bit, anywhere from 2 to, and if it's a big rain, up to maybe 10,000 gallons above and beyond our normal flow. So, and it always happens in the spring when we have lots of rain. Okay, so that's I&I. It's basically clean water that's getting into our system. And we don't want clean water coming into our system because it dilutes the treatment plant. The bugs that actually break down our sewage, now there's more clean water in there, it dilutes them, and all those bugs get diluted, and it takes longer and it's harder to treat the sewage, right? So one thing that in any sewer system, and I don't care if it's your own septic sewer system, a city sewer system, you want to reduce the I&I. So that's just groundwater, people running sump pumps, rainwater getting into our system, cracks in our pipes, water softeners. Some of these things, we're going to have to come up with a plan, and that's going to take all of us, or we're going to have to come up with a plan and try to determine how we can reduce our I&I, and then we have to give the MPCA a report how we're going to do that. Now, one of the things that was identified when we did scope out Rushway Play, the infrastructure underneath that road, Terry did identify and documented several outlets out of our main infrastructure, and they're basically put in the pipe for tie-ins, right? Or which I'm going to say is stub-ups, right? So he's able to identify every stub-up to every one of the houses on Rushway, and identify all the stub-ups on Lakeside and County Road 1 side. So there are multiple stubs for the parcels. If somebody wanted to build a house there, or if somebody that owns that property wants to sell that property, they can market it that property that there is possible sewer, right? We would have to determine, depending on the structure that they're building, if we want to let them in or if we still have capacity whenever a structure is built on there. One of our concerns with the expansion is, you know, if we start adding those people on, we're going to lose the accountability of how many people we can put on there. And at any particular point in time, they can say you can't have any more people coming in, or you have to put another pond out there, another treatment pond. If that's the case, that's millions and millions of dollars. We want to try to avoid that at all costs. Right now, they have not told us that we have to do that, but one of the things that concerns us as we operate this in our operator is they are concerned about our I&I, which means they don't like the amount of water or food that's going into our treatment plant now. So that, you know, at some point we're going to have to just say no more, right? Unless we build a new pond. We're not there yet, but we don't want to get there. We don't want to build a new pond. We don't want to get bigger. More rules and more regulations cost us more to operate. $100 to operate a sewer system per household, and that takes care of the roads, and to treat your sewage is not a lot of money on a month-to-month basis. That's my point of view on that. So what he was saying is we've identified a lot of extra stub-ups coming out of that Rushway because that the old camper and the old resort was there, and they had multiple stub-ups. And what our concern is when that place got torn down, they weren't plugged up correctly. So we're going to be doing some more monitoring and investigating, and you know, I'm not quite sure how we're going to do it, if we're going to do it with remote flow valves or more cameras, but that is going to be one of our solutions. Is we're going to have to dig up and recap some of those stub-ups because we do believe that some of the I&I is coming from that. But there's other locations throughout the park too that we're going to have to identify and focus on, because we've noticed sand and silt in our system too, which only can, you know, with the expansion and the freezing and the ground moving, tells us that there's pipes coming across and opening up and there's dirt getting into our system. So we do have to find some things and fix some of our infrastructure. Another reason why we charge everybody the certain amount of money that we do is so we can create enough money to correct these issues. When this board took over, the bank account was close to zero. It was under $20,000. So over the last 3 years, we've been able to create a budget, manage the budget, and you know, start to get the money to come in and build us up. So we do have some sort of a bankroll to operate with. So that kind of brings up the point that he was bringing up. Any other questions?
I just have something to say. After reading the letter, and something, you know, caught my eye is that maybe just this circumstance that they're speaking of, but in general, I don't think that being on the Shorewood Park board with this board members and the previous, which I was there a short time with that leadership role, I can truthfully say that this is the most transparent I have ever seen this district run. And the validity of our intentions is just can't compare. We are here for our community, and I don't want to see that tarnished by not understanding how we work and why we have done the things we've done, and why we ask people to come and join us so that they can see for themselves that our intent here is to do what is needed to support our sewer district.
Every meeting has been broadcast for the last 3 years. Maybe 1 or 2 were not recorded, but you can go to shorewood.sanitation.org and click the link to our YouTube page, which holds all of our meetings that we've had since this board has been operating.
Okay, anything else? All right, I guess I'm gonna look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.